Hello, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use a service called Piel surveys, which will allow you to send surveys to participants for them to fill in at multiple time points. So it's different from, say, Question Pro, which is primarily designed to allow participants to fill a questionnaire in once. This is if you want to, say, have someone complete a diary or fill a question in over some days or something like that. So the first thing we need to do is you'll need to tell participants that they'll need either to get an iOS app or an Android app, and what this will do is it will allow them to open the file that you'll send them by email. So the file you'll send them by email is called a control file, and what you want to do in order to get the control file is you want to go and enter your email address in here and click download. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a free program called Notepad++, but this would work exactly the same using Notepad. And I'm just going to go edit using Notepad++. Okay, so if you're curious about where you get Notepad++ from, if you just Google Notepad++, you can go and download it from here. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to go and talk you through what all this means. So first of all, you've got essentially three blocks here. You've got a block here which is kind of the useful information. So things like what's the name of the survey. So let's say you were to do a survey on body hair. Okay, and what you'll see is that it's got something called the vertical a vertical pipe here, and this is how it separates the information. So you've got name, which is name of survey, and then vertical pipe, and then body hair. And what you can do is just edit this as appropriate. Okay, then you've got author, so I'm going to change that to Precipitin. And then you've got email address, and it's really important that you enter in a correct email address, because this is how people will email their results to you. Okay. Next, you've got subject ID, and what you'll need to do is when setting up a control experiment, a control survey for each participant, you need to change it so that each person has a unique subject ID. And what you would typically do is when you email them to them, you would say, this is your subject ID. If you want to withdraw up to this point, please email me your number. Okay. Then you've got something which says can run once, and we want to change that to 0 because we want this to run multiple times. So essentially, Piel surveys has two settings. It has the ability with a survey that just runs once, and then it has the ability where you can schedule surveys. If you also want to kind of demonstrate how Piel surveys works to someone, you can use the can test function. You change that to 1, but be careful, because if you do that, it won't save your data. So I'd recommend you make sure that that is always set to 0. Okay. Next, you've got the exit message, which is what they get when they exit the survey. And technically, you can set up multiple exit messages, and it will rotate it. So you could have another one that said exit message to see you later, whatever. Okay. Next, you've got lines which are what's known as commented out, which is where they start with a hashtag. So if you don't want the application to read the survey, you can put a hashtag in, and that means it won't be read. Okay. So you've got what's known as just a little bit of text telling you what this is, and then you've got the things that you want to, if you want to run multiple surveys, you want to take out. So you've got placeholder message, so this is the message that they will have if they want to, when they click on the survey when it isn't time. Okay, so I'm going to delete that so that it now has the placeholder message. Then the idea is that on Android or on iOS, when it's time for them to do the survey, they'll get some sort of notification. So in this case, we're using alert sound 005, which corresponds to tada. So it corresponds to robot. And if you go and look at the manual, you can see what each of the sounds represents. So if you just leave it blank, by default, you'll get the system message sounds, which is possibly the best. But if you want to have a specific sound, then you can use one of these. So as we want that, I'm just going to go and do that. Max duration is how long they've got to fill in the survey. So this is measured in seconds, so therefore 600 seconds corresponds to 10 minutes. Okay. Then you've got max delay, which is the amount of time that someone has to open the survey before it's classed as a non-completion of a survey. So in this case, is 180 seconds, which corresponds to about 3 minutes. If you wanted to make it so that there was no kind of delay or no maximum duration, you'd just change that to 99999. Okay, so that tells you the max duration. Then this will say when you want it to be run. So you could, for example, have it be run for on a Sunday at 7:15, 7:20, and 7:25. Okay, so the number in brackets there corresponds to the day of the week. 1 is Monday, 2 is Tuesday, 3 is Thursday, 3 is Wednesday, 4 is Thursday, 5 is Friday, 6 is Saturday, and 7 is Sunday. And then you can see that you've got the time in 24 hours when you actually want the survey to appear. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take out some of these comments so it actually becomes apparent that it runs. I just want it to run at this point here. You also want to make sure that you've got this comment here, which is how many times you want it to run. So for this example, you would say run for 7 days. Now, if, for example, you wanted to have it run on all days, you could just put star, and that would mean that it would run for all possible days. Okay. So what we've now got is a survey that will run on Sunday, and it will run at 7:15, 7:20. And 7:45. I'm going to delete the other two because that just makes it confusing. Okay, and it's going to run 7 times. Okay, now we're on to the different types of questions that you can have, and you can see that you've got a comment explaining this. So in this example, you've got how did you hear about the survey ? And then you've got the various options. So each time you separate it with a pipe, that means that's one of the answers. So this is multiple choice, and you can see from a colleague, advertisement, reading a review or blog, in the App Store. Yeah. So you can see that you've got that, and then you've got this thing which says next, and what this means is that if they choose this, then it will jump to question 3, and that means that you can direct them based on those particularly more easily. Okay, then you've got options such as please provide where you heard about it, and then you've got question type, which is text, which means they will type in an answer. Then you've got what kind of experience do you have of using Piel surveys, and then you've got the type being a slider, so you've got a slider bar if need be. You've also got options such as list checkbox, where you can select multiple options, or just a standard multiple choice where you can select one. And then once you're ready to do this, you want to go and save this file, and you want to make sure that it's saved as a .survey file. And what this will mean is that the program can open it. So once your participant has installed the app, it'll look like what is about to happen next. So once you've done this, what you want to go and do is you want to go and email the survey to the participants. So save it. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to contest and do that, just so it becomes easier to kind of show you what it does. Okay, so I'm saving this. I'm then going to email it to myself. So if you just go and open up the email, and we've saved it. So let's go and find out where it is. So I'm just going to go on and drag this over to the email and drop it in like that. So okay. Next, I'm going to enter in my email address so it comes to me, and then I'll show you on a phone what it looks like. So if I go send and then send, obviously you want to do it as a proper email, but nevertheless. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go onto my email, open up the email and click to download. Then it will come up with a screen that looks like this, which might be slightly confusing, but I'm going to go share at the top, open in, and then I'm going to swipe all the way to here, click more, come down here, and you're going to see an option which says copy to Piel surveys. Click copy, and then you can see that the survey is there. So if I click there like so and click text, you can see that it's expecting questions at 3, and then you can see that it then comes up with an option which says survey please complete. So when the time comes around, it will say this. It will just send a notification and make a sound to the participant's phone about when they're going to complete it. I'm going to tap here. I'm going to go and fill in various questions. And you can see the various questions available to me. If I'm honest, you're probably going to just want to have questions, let me show you, that look a bit like this. Yeah. So where you're just picking one answer, or possibly a Likert scale. Choose one or more, so this is a multiple choice one. Click next. End survey, and then you'll see an option which says, do you want to email the data file now? You click OK. And then you can see it automatically fills in the email address. Send it from, okay, I'll send it from there. And then you just click send, and then by default this then comes to is emailed to the researcher, and the noise you can hear in the background is me receiving that email. Piel survey. So let's pretend that this has been emailed to you. So if you go download and go and open this up, you will see that you end up with a data file that looks like this. And what this does is it will tell you a number of things. It will tell you a start time, that when it was started. It will say exactly when it was started, so it will give you a date and the time. So this one was at 5 minutes past 2. It will then give you the end time, so you can then work out how long it took someone to do it. So it took me less than a minute to do, and then you can see that you've got the answers for each of the questions here, which you can then just go and copy into SPSS. And then when the participant, or in my case me, did it again, you once again got the start time, the end time, and you can see that this one was started at 3 o'clock exactly, and you've got the answers there which you can then go and copy into SPSS. And that's briefly how you would analyse the data.